This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of The Future of Email Marketing. My guest today is Joe Apfelbaum, CEO of Ajax Union, a marketing agency in the Bronx, if I'm not mistaken.
Brooklyn, New
Brooklyn.
York.
Okay.
It also
Well,
starts with a B.
both start with a B. I've not actually been to Brooklyn, sad to say.
Have you
Been
been to
to,
the Bronx?
yeah, but passed through, not for any length
Yeah.
of time.
You just flew right through the Bronx.
Flew right through the Bronx. Got it. Got it. Are you native to that neck of the woods?
Yeah, I was raised and grazed in Crooklyn.
sounds like you've said that before.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Hey, introduce Ajax Union and maybe a bit about yourself, just to orient people.
Yeah, my name is Joe Apfelbaum. I'm the CEO of Ajax Union. We're a B2B digital marketing agency based in Brooklyn, New York. We've been around for 13 years now. Been on featured on the Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing companies in the US. When I started my business, I really didn't understand business. I was more of a web designer. I designed websites and, the famous saying, if you build it, they will come.
Hmm.
It's not true. I built it. Nobody came. So I had to learn marketing. And the first thing that I realized is search engines were hot back in the day.
Hmm.
And so I said, all right, well, let me see if I can get this website on a search engine. And it was really easy in the beginning. I would just add some meta description, meta titles. I would do some on-site SEO, but then marketers ruin everything. So that got ruined and I had to do off-site SEO. And then that got ruined. I had to do technical SEO. So I became a SEO expert for my clients and people started knocking on my door saying, hey, we need search engine optimization. Can you help us? And then social media came out. So I had to become an expert on social media and start doing social media for clients to build trust, and then email marketing. And that turned into a whole full-fledged, full-service digital marketing agency. Right now, we service B2B companies and we build marketing funnels. We create the right strategy, we build the right funnels, the right assets, and then we send traffic using search, social, and email.
Succinct. What's the history of Ajax Union?
Well, when I started the business 13 years ago, we were mainly focusing on small businesses.
Hmm.
So the small businesses that we were focusing on were many mom and pop shops. If they had a website, we were servicing them. We were helping them rank with SEO. We were doing articles, blogs, classified ads, directories. Social bookmarking was a thing. That's what they needed in order to succeed.
Yeah.
And we were sending traffic to them. But what happened is that although we were sending traffic to the people and they were ranking, their businesses were still going out of business because most businesses go out of business within 3 years. And if you're not profitable and you're not strategic and you get all the wrong customers, you're going to go out of business faster.
Hmm.
So we found that a lot of our clients are going out of business and we're trying to figure out what's going on. So we started to get more strategic with them and we realized that businesses are missing strategy. If you just start using energy without strategy, well, often you'll find that it's a waste of time. I'll make you rank number one on Google for all the wrong words. You're not going to get clients. You're going to get noise. And so understanding that and setting a strategy first was a game changer for us. And so we became really, really good at being strategic for our clients and understanding that it's a long-term game, especially in the B2B world. When you're business to business, you have to nurture clients. I think it was Nielsen who recently put out a study that it takes 33 touches to close a deal.
Wow.
33 touches.
Wow.
And we think we're going to do a one call close.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a $50 deal or on a $2 toothbrush, you can do that. But if you're trying to close a $10,000 deal or a $50,000 deal or a $200,000 deal, that's going to take multiple buyer centers,
Yeah. Yeah.
which means influencer, decision maker, buyer, user, gatekeeper, going through different people that all have different needs and different thoughts and different emotions and different preferences and different unique selling proposition for each one. So you really have to understand how to speak to the different buyer centers. And with B2B, it can get complicated. So the more complicated it is, the more strategy you need in order to succeed. Like, for example, with Connect 4, you need a basic strategy. Try to make sure I don't get 4 pieces in the same color, and I'll try to get, right? The strategy is simple, but compare that to chess. With chess, I need to think a few moves ahead, and then based on what you do, that throws a wrench into my whole game.
Right.
And then compare chess to Fortnite. where you have to like build and fly and run and jump, and there's 100 different people that are real human beings playing against you all at the same time. So the right strategy will save you a decade.
And business is becoming a good bit more like Fortnite, sounds like.
There's a lot of moving parts. It's not the way it used to be, especially digital marketing. So business itself has its fundamentals. You have to know who you're targeting. You have to get the right message, solve a problem, and rinse and repeat.
Right.
And if you can do it correctly to the right people and you solve a big problem, you can make a lot of money. Rinse and repeat. But when it comes to marketing, what worked yesterday doesn't work today. And what works today is probably not going to work tomorrow. So
Why is
understanding that. Why? Because things are changing. People are changing. It used to be when I opened up an email, I would look at the subject line before I opened it up. I don't look at subject lines anymore.
Right.
Now I look at who sent me the email before I even look at the subject line. It used to be that social media was a fun place to see family and friends. Now I see advertisements left and right. I'm
And
getting
rants.
bombarded with the same ads from the same people that are walking around with their Lamborghinis trying to tell me that I can become wealthy overnight by buying their book or by watching their automated webinar.
Right.
That doesn't work anymore. It worked in the beginning and people made money, but that doesn't work anymore. Building real relationships always worked and will always continue to work because people do business with other people that they know, they like, and they trust.
I wanted to ask you about that because it was a perfect segue. By the way, I was reading up a bit on your company and you had a recent, I think, video post that said if you don't have a personal brand, that is your personal brand. You were walking down the sidewalk and talking about that. Could you could you relay the gist of that?
Some people are afraid to put themselves online. They don't put their photo online. They don't put information online. They put very generic info. Well, the internet has your info already because other people are talking about you and because of public records. I mean, you exist as a human being. Your information exists. If you own a company or if you run a company or if you're in a position, your resume gets scraped, you're on there, you're online. Now, the question is, do you want when someone Googles you for them to find a bunch of disjointed information, or do you want them to find you walking down the street, having a conversation with them and educating them? How do you want your personal brand to look? If you just run away like an ostrich and put your head in the sand, then you're going to have your personal brand be you being an ostrich with your head in the sand. Just because your head's in the sand, it doesn't mean that things aren't going on in the world. So instead, what you need to do is you need to look around and say, okay, how do I want to be seen from a personal brand standpoint? And then proactively create that for yourself, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whether it's having a website or like you have a podcast. The key is for you to understand who your demographic is, where they are, what context you need to talk to them in. They say that content is king. Well, that used to be true in 1990. Today, it's context is king because we're no longer watching television. We're now watching Netflix or YouTube, and it's highly, highly curated and highly, highly customized. And so you have to proactively create your personal brand if you want to be able to show people what you want them to see instead of what you hope that they'll see. I was recently talking to an author of a book, and he said, Joe, I don't read my reviews. And I said, well, let me read one of your reviews. It's a 1-star review. He's like, please don't. I was like, no, this one you want to read. And he's like, all right, go ahead. I started reading the review, and the review said, the reason I'm leaving this review is because I want to get the author's attention. I absolutely loved his book. It's extremely valuable, but I'm leaving him a 1-star review because he had some grammar errors, and I have a company who does editing. Here's the name of my company. And he puts the name of his company in there. Like, please contact me so that we can make sure to remove all the grammar mistakes.
Nice.
And I was like, dude, you should call them up and make them to change it to a 5-star review because they actually liked your book and they're trying to get you as a client. I mean, this is a really below the belt approach, but
Yeah.
you know, they left you a 1-star review. So contact them and have a conversation, and that'll turn into a raving fan. And maybe you'll turn them into a client to coach them how to properly do biz dev instead of using this blackmail approach.
Interesting. I don't entirely disagree with you, but I also find it friggin' exhausting. The personal brand thing. Because the more you're out there, the more you get, pardon me, bullshit tactics like that that demand more attention than you could ever spare.
That's the fear that a lot of people have. I am very, very out there, and I don't get as much as I thought I would get before I put myself out there.
You don't
I
find
actually,
LinkedIn exhausting?
I actually find it rejuvenating
Wow.
because I have 1,000 people waiting to connect with me, and I just ignore all the people that are using the crappy tactics. I
Right.
literally, I've learned to ignore, just like I ignore the spam that goes into my spam box. I
Mm-hmm.
just press select all, delete. If there's something important there, someone will message me again. They'll find a way to get through to me. Select all,
Yeah.
delete, ignore, 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 ignore. And
Yeah.
if something keeps coming back up, I'll take a look at it. I'll give it a second look. But most people, they're spraying and praying. There's no follow up. The fortune is not in spraying and praying. The fortune is not showing up and throwing up. The fortune is in the follow up. I always tell people, if you don't follow up with someone, they're not going to be connecting with you. I sent an email to 98 CEOs recently. 98 CEOs of the fastest growing companies in America in the food and beverage industries. Only 2 people replied to my first email.
I was going to say response rate, couple percent, right?
2 people responded. So I had a 2% response rate. This was a direct email one-to-one using
Yep.
technology. So it was a batch, a cold email using Mailshake. Only 2 people responded. I sent a second email 5 days later. 7 people responded. I sent a third email. Another 4 people responded. So what I do is you don't send one email and forget it. You keep following up and following up. And every time you follow up, more and more people will respond, because not everyone sees the first email. But if they see you keep bumping it and bumping it and bumping it,
Right.
eventually they're going to respond, either ask you to go away
Right.
or
Right.
say, hey, I'm super interested. And by the way, lots of people are interested.
But let's chase that for a second, because what you just said does not scale very well. Because if you got it 1, 2, 3, and you're finally getting up into what, double-digit response rate. A year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, it's going to be even worse because there's guys doing exactly what you do.
They're not doing exactly what I do because it's not scalable. You don't
Follow-up's
want
not
to
scalable.
scale it. You want to customize it. When you're on Netflix
Yeah.
and you're watching a documentary, you and 75 other people watch the documentary. Not you and 75 million people watch the documentary,
Right.
because they have documentaries there that are for a niche group of people.
Mm-hmm.
What people are creating is niche communities. This is the next level. People want customized art, customized environments, customized trips. They don't want just be one of many. Your car will soon be able to change. I mean, Mercedes-Benz is coming out with a car where you can push a button and change all the colors on the outside of the car. And everything that happens with the car is completely customized to who you are as an individual. It's about the individual, not about the collective. The collective already happened with Coca-Cola. But now could you imagine you can infuse your drink to make it exactly how you want it? That's the next level. Not that everybody gets the same thing, but that you have a brewery that makes bourbon that you like. And you don't need 1 million customers to make a very good living. If you have the right 1,000 fans, as Kevin Kelly, the editor of Wired magazine, he has this thing called the 1,000 fans. If you have 1,000 fans that will travel 100 miles to watch you sing, you can make a really good living at it.
Right, right. No, it's the blast filters that we're constantly trying to get over to find those 1,000 that strikes me as a non-scalable exercise. My inbox is like yours, right? Constant barrage. I filter on who, subject line matters less and less, repetition, actual relationship. Those definitely affect the filter, but takes time to build that,
It
and it's
does
quite
take time.
arbitrary.
Yeah, it does take time. And it's not really that arbitrary if you know who your target market is. So if I was targeting you as a podcast host,
Yeah,
and I knew your podcast and I listened to an episode for a few minutes and I
yeah.
sent you an email and said, hey, Matthew, I listened to your podcast with Joe Apfelbaum and I absolutely loved it. I loved what he said about spraying and praying. I got a lot of value on it. I just want to take a moment to thank you. Did you write a book? Do you have a book that I can buy on Amazon? Now, you might reply to that or you might not. Now, if you don't reply, then you're not You're not paying attention. If
Yeah,
you
but fallacy. I'm not going to read it because I don't know who you are. You just said that.
you don't know who I am, but I'm a fan of yours. And I mentioned your podcast and I mentioned someone
But
specific.
you said you're going to go down and look at the who and hit delete. You just said that.
Correct. But I'm also going to scan and see if it seemed like this person is a person that is a fan of mine, because I am looking for fans because I have a podcast. So I'm going to be paying attention. So I have different email addresses.
Mm-hmm.
My email address for my podcast gets very little email. I'll get maybe 20 emails per week. My business email, I'll get 300 to 500 emails a day because I'm really out there.
Sure.
So I have a special different personal brand where I'm watching my fans.
Mm-hmm.
So if I only have 1,000 fans, I could still make a very good living. But my 1,000 fans, I'm maybe going to have 10 fans email me a month. I'm not going to have 1,000 fans emailing me every month. So because I get a few spam messages, I delete the spam messages and I get the occasional, oh my God, I bought your book. I loved it. It changed my life. Let's connect. I'm going to reply to that. In my main email, if you're trying to hit people up on their main thing, you're probably going to ignore stuff if you don't have time. But that's where the follow-up comes up. So if I'm going to email you one time, Matthew, saying, I love the podcast, you have a book on Amazon, you're probably not going to reply. But then I'm going to bump it up next week, 5 days later. Like, hey, Matthew, not sure if you saw my email. I really would love to buy your book. If you have one, let me know. If not, no worries. I know you're very busy. And then you won't reply to that. And then I'll send you another one. I'll be like, hey, Matthew, I checked you out on LinkedIn. Oh my God, I love the recent post that you posted. I liked and commented on it. I hope I could learn more about you. And then I could boom, 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 boom. I follow up like that. And I can do this with a list of people because I have certain variables that they all have the same thing. So Matthew is your first name. I could find the other person's first name. I could find their podcast. I could find them on LinkedIn. I could find all that stuff. And now I have a list of 200 people that are the same thing. And I'm trying to target them. And because I only need 10 clients, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. So if I have 10, out of the 200 people, I get 10 of them to have a conversation with, or 20 to have a conversation with. And because I know exactly that I can solve a problem for you, I know that I'm going to get 10 customers out of that over the course of, let's say, 6 months. And that's enough because each person's paying me $50K. And that turns into a very nice business for me because that hits my goal. So if you do things strategically, that's called having a strategy. If you do things strategically, you don't need mass numbers. You don't need millions of people. The average CEO has 930 connections on LinkedIn. The average LinkedIn user has 440 connections. 58% of people are logging from their phones. So if I hit you up in many different ways, some people are going to get annoyed. I had somebody tell me, please never contact me again.
Interesting.
Please never contact me again. You hit me up on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, another person says, oh my God, Joe, I love that you hit me up on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp, on LinkedIn, and you emailed me. Let's have a conversation. It seems like the universe wants us to connect. And that is a relationship.
It turns into one. Let me take that and flip that to talk about email marketing, though, because I understand the logic of what you're saying, but it's the reason my inbox is a cesspool. In email marketing, what is it? 15-20% success rate is regarded as good. To me, that's an 85% failure rate. 85% of the email you sent out went into a black hole and was a complete waste of everybody's time.
What's worse is 97% of people that are coming to your website don't even want to buy.
Right.
Only 3% do.
Right.
But the 3% do, those are the people that matter. And the 97% need to be nurtured. And so a lot of the cesspool stuff, a lot of the garbage that's out there, that's just what it, did you know that 80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck? Let's take it a step. So we said email, okay, 85%, Then we said, oh my God, 80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. They're in debt. They don't even have $1,000 in savings. Right. How could that be? How could that be in the greatest country in the world? How could that be in America that this is happening? How could it be that 10% of people in the world don't even have food? And when we have unlimited ability to manufacture food, how could that be? Because that's the reality of it. The reality of it is that most people are living a scarcity mindset. We are programmed as human beings to survive. And we're in the survival mindset. And if you can change to thriving mindset, focusing on what works, thinking about your goals, being strategic, you'll be one in very few people. You have to keep trying. I spoke to somebody, I said, how do you get through to the CFOs of companies like Pepsi? You know what she says? On average, it takes 59 emails.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Could you
I
imagine
believe
if
it.
I
Yeah.
followed up with you 59 times and I
Yeah.
followed up with your admin 59 times and I followed up with your colleagues 59 times? And that's the average. With some people, it could be 173 times I followed up. Now, it depends if you're networking or prospecting. There are people that are networking friendly and there are people that are not networking friendly. There are people that are prospect friendly. There are people that are not prospect friendly. You don't need every customer. You need the right customer, someone who's interested, someone who's willing to have a conversation with you. Most people won't. I go on the train and I sing Frank Sinatra's song, My Way. Nobody's interested. Nobody's even looking up in the subway. I tried it out. Let me see what happens. Let me sing. There are two people on the train that have a smile on their face and they're just don't stop looking at me. So I walk over to them like, what'd you think? They're like, you made my day. And they start telling me why. And then they give me their business card and
Nice.
says, are you willing to come sing in my company? I said, no, but I can do a seminar at your law firm because it looks like they're a lawyer. They're like, oh my God, I would love for you to do a seminar. There's 100 people on the train. No one's interested. One is, and that's all I need. All I need is one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the same thing. You don't worry about don't worry. See, perfection is the enemy of execution. When we try to perfect it and get 100% response rate, we're never going to do it. It's like fishing. Most of the time spent fishing is drinking beer and waiting for the fish to eat your worm. You're going to be like, I wasted all this time. I could just go to the fish market and buy the fish.
Right.
That's not fishing.
It's not fishing. You touch close to my heart. I'm a fly fisherman. It's about fishing. It's not about catching. Right?
If I sent you an email
Yeah.
talking about fly fishing, I promise you you'd pay attention. No matter
Instant
what
response. Yeah, guaranteed. Right. That's the subject line key right there.
Well, anyone listening to this podcast, don't tell anyone else. But if
Yeah,
you want
really,
to contact
really,
Matt, mention
really.
fly fishing in the email. He'll pay attention.
That's it right there. Or in your case, Frank Sinatra. You actually sing? You're a singer?
I enjoy singing. Yes.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
me as
say
well.
that I'm a professional singer. I just enjoy singing. And I hired a voice coach. And she said, Joe, your voice is so good. You need to sing Frank Sinatra songs. So I picked My Way because it resonates with the words. I don't know if you know the lyrics of Frank Sinatra's song My Way, but it's very, very powerful. And it really resonates with me. And when I sing it, I feel alive and I resonate. And the fact that I'm even resonating into the mic right now is because I practice resonating when I sing, and I'm singing with my body and my different resonation points on my face.
Yeah. Got it. Yep. Absolutely. Ditto. Fascinating. See, we already went way down a rabbit hole. What does it have to do with email? Everything, I suppose.
I'll tell you what it has to do with email. Let's say, for example, I wanted to find people who I wanted to sell my coaching services to, and I want to send them emails. So I can go on Facebook, I was a fly fisher, let's just say. I go on Facebook and I find a group of people who are into fly fishing. And I get their first name, last name, and I put them into my tool and I get all their email addresses. And now I send them an email about fly fishing and build a relationship with them around fly fishing. And I said, hey, I noticed that you're in the Facebook group on fly fishing, and I just wanted to reach out and tell you I'm a fellow fly fisher. Any great tips? And then I start a conversation, and it turns into like, hey, what do you do? What do I do? And now we have a relationship. People don't care about what you know until they know how much you care. Nicely
put. Yeah.
Zig Ziglar said that. It wasn't even me.
Still, you had the quote to hand.
Yeah.
It's something we're not going to move away from. The in fact, we're probably moving towards it. The power of I know this person, as you said, know, like, and trust. Relationship centric thing. It's just it's exhausting to get there sometimes, though, because of the spray and pray crowd.
Yeah, and the spray and pray crowd is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And you know what? You just got to do it. You just got to be there.
Yeah.
You just got to do it. You just got to build relationships, and you got to learn what's working, take the right courses, take the right coaching programs, work with people, and just take one day at a time, one step at a time. Most people are just so busy trying to get it perfect that they never even take action. It's okay for you not to have perfection. If you walk into nature, you'll notice that nature is not perfect. It's actually far from perfect. Nature is far from perfect, but that's where the beauty is. That's what life is. Life is not about being perfect. Life is not about making sure that you have everything perfectly correct. It's 100% about trying, doing your best, and pushing one day at a time. You do things one day at a time.
I want to reel back about 20 minutes when you were talking about sort of the roots of your company. Am I correct in hearing that you sort of grew out of the mom and pop into larger B2B focused clients?
Correct. I
What was
started off.
what
I
was the
started off just
pause?
networking. Networking. So I initially I was doing prospecting and just basically cold calling to get clients. And we were very successful, but we were getting all the wrong clients. We were getting companies that were under 1 million in revenue. Those were the ones picking up the phone. And we were just closing and closing and closing and doing really well. But those clients wouldn't last because they would go out of business or they really wouldn't have a lot of money. And
Right.
they took a gamble on SEO, but it didn't really work for them. What we found was, what we found was that the right customers didn't necessarily come from prospecting. They came from networking. I had a networking conversation with a friend of mine who wasn't a friend at the time. Now he's a friend of mine. And I said, what can I do to add value to your life? And he said, Joe, I want to meet people at hospitals. I want to meet executives at hospitals at more than 500 employees in New Jersey. I said, I have a list because I have access to millions of contacts. So I said, can I give you that list of all the decision makers at those hospitals in New Jersey? He's like, oh my God, that would change my life. He's like, what can I do for you? I said, I'm looking to meet sales directors at companies with sales teams. So he's like, okay. 2 weeks later, he calls me up. He's like, I have a friend who's a sales director at a company. They're 400 million in revenue, and they're desperately looking for a new agency. They're currently using 3 agencies. They're not getting results. I got an instant meeting with him. He set up an email connection. I got an instant meeting, and it turned into a client that spent $2 million with my agency in services. Besides several $1 million in advertising, 2 million just in services alone. The only way I was able to get a client that would be paying me that type of money was through networking. And that completely shifted. And I realized I need to focus on B2B. I need to focus on larger companies and I need to do more networking. So I joined a very successful networking group that you have to make, almost a very significant investment to join. And your business has to be over 3 million in revenue to be part of it. And I joined it. I made the investment and it changed my life. I'm professional networking with the right people, getting into the right companies. People respect me. They introduce me. We have conversations. It's fun. And now I teach people how to do that on LinkedIn.
Nice, nice, interesting inflection point. That conversation with your now friend.
Yeah, very, very powerful. Most people, they don't go through that. They don't take the time to go through that. And as a result, they don't end up getting the results. You need to be able to do those things in order to get the results. You need to be able to take one step at a time.
So when you get coaching clients, because you mentioned that's part of your business now, how do you start sizing up what they need?
Well, step number 1 is we do an assessment. We have a 4-step process: assessment, exploration, onboarding, and synergy. You first do an assessment. We try to figure out, okay, how can we help this person? What is their need? Usually we're talking to the marketing director at the company.
Mm-hmm.
And in our assessment, we identify, oh my gosh, they don't even have a strategy. They have a website, but they have no funnel. If you have a website and you have no funnel, it's going to be very difficult to be successful with no funnel. So we help you build it. So we'll say, okay, well, we need to build out a funnel and we have a conversation about it. And then we do a capabilities review. And then based on that, usually we'll be able to service them and support them and help them grow their business. That's really the approach. That's how we do it.
Got it. So there are repeatable structures. I hear you saying, and you can identify what's going to work, even with a new business, new client.
Correct. We know what's going to work because we've been working the system. We've been working the system. We know it takes time. We have a webinar that people watch. After they watch the webinar, they get emails with more lead magnets.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
over time, they say, you know what? Let me raise my hand. I'm interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most people never even take the time to nurture their leads. And as a result, they're not successful, or they have the wrong types of customers. I want you to have the right types of customers, not the wrong types of customers.
Nice. Nice. You've got you've got your own strategy and tactics in use, which probably goes to my next question, which is how do you keep abreast of this constantly shifting marketing world?
The way that I stay abreast with the constantly shifting marketing world is by reading what's going on, by testing with our existing clients,
Mm-hmm.
by constantly working the system. You just gotta keep working the system one day at a time and not worrying about, like for me, it's about getting to know people, building a relationship, figuring out what's working for them, what's not working for them. Marketing is about testing. I don't know that something's going to work when I'm marketing, but I certainly know that just spraying and praying is definitely not going to work. So my goal is to take a step back and find out what's working for my customers, find out what's working for their customers, find out what's working in the industry. I speak to other marketers all the time. We have a marketing directors roundtable. In our marketing directors roundtable, we learn what's working with other marketers. That's why we hold a roundtable, to kind of like learn all that. So
Nice.
that's been really powerful as well.
Kind of a mastermind
Yeah.
structure. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I would think that would be very fruitful because everyone's in the trenches.
Correct. Everyone's in the trenches, and it's really nice to like connect with people and build deep, real, meaningful relationships.
Mhm.
I mean, it's what heals trauma. We all have trauma growing up. Every single person experienced some level of trauma. And it usually came from a relationship or multiple relationships. And so if we find relationships that are nurturing and loving and trusted, we can heal that trauma that created the trauma in the first place.
Nice. It's a great thing to get out of what starts as a professional circles when it grows into something that's more than that.
In my book, High Energy Networking, which I just published for my birthday,
Hey, congrats.
I talk about the 5 levels of a relationship. There's the person that you wave, the person you have drinks with, the person you have lunch with, the person you have dinner with, and the person that you bring home to your family. So there are different levels in a relationship. And sometimes you go from one to the other. Sometimes it's just a connection. Sometimes it becomes a friend. Sometimes it's a relationship that you're trying to build. Sometimes it's a partner. So it depends on the level of the relationship. Know where people are and then communicate appropriately.
Yeah. How long did it take to write?
It took me about 2 months to write the first draft. It took me about 3 months to edit it, and then maybe another month or 2 to publish it. So far, the past 5 years, I've published a new book every year.
Wow. So I've had multiple guests on this podcast who relatively recently published something, and it always makes for an interesting conversation just to drill into the process and the work of actually capturing enough on paper to be worth printing. And
Yeah.
you've done it multiple times.
Yeah, and it's also because it's something I'm very passionate about, and I'm sharing my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm very, very passionate about it, I'm able to do it. If you're passionate about something, you're gonna be excited about doing it, and
Yeah.
that's gonna help you be able to succeed.
Do you write at the keyboard or with a pencil?
Keyboard.
Keyboard, cool. Outline, then draft, or blast through it, and then go back and refine it. Talk
I
about
first
the writing
write the table of
process.
I first write the table of contents.
Uh-huh.
That's step number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Once I write the table of contents and the table of contents is done, then I'll set up a time where I write 2,000 words a day for, let's say, 20 to 40 days.
That's good output. Wow.
And then I basically go through each chapter, I knock it out, and then I put it to rest for a little bit, and then I go back and start editing.
Yeah, got it. Preferred word
I use Google
processor.
Docs.
You use Google Docs.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself. I still prefer Microsoft Word for long stuff because of the muscle habits that are wired in.
Totally get it.
Style sheets, baby. Style sheets.
Funny.
definitely dates me. Although my son got hooked on Word as well.
Very
Doesn't
powerful.
happen that often in their generation. And publishers, you working with publishers?
No, I self-publish on Amazon.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, that process has gotten so streamlined, and like I think that's a heck of a favor Amazon's done the world in a lot of ways. The
Yes.
obstacles used to
And I
be
have a coach,
ridiculous.
and I have a coach that helps me,
Yeah,
that supports me. Yeah.
coach with a coach.
Every coach needs a coach.
Yeah,
Anyone that's successful by anything needs you need to have someone that will support you.
yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. We didn't talk about email marketing much, but in the like 5 minutes that we've got left, all the principles and approach that you've been talking about, strategy, networking, etc. How does that feed into what Ajax Union does for clients in the email domain specifically?
Well, once you have a strategy, you know who you're targeting, you know what your messaging is, and you have assets built out, then it's time for you to be able to create email sequences because you want to nurture those that target market. So creating email sequences, there are two different ways that we send out emails for our customers. There's either prospecting emails or there's branding like newsletter type emails. And those are the two types of emails. So there's also transactional emails. But when it comes to like the prospecting stuff, if we're, let's say, targeting estate lawyers for a client,
Mm-hmm.
what we'll do is we'll build a list of estate lawyers in a particular general geographic area. And then we'll find with big data, we'll find their first name, last name, title, company, how many employees they have, their email address, all their information. And then we'll create a custom messaging campaign to that particular list with a series of emails that will go out to try to book a meeting with them. Alternatively, we will run ads to drive people to a landing page for people to fill out a
Interesting.
form to download a lead magnet, and then we'll get them into an automation or to join a newsletter where we send out a newsletter on a regular basis, whether it's a weekly newsletter, a monthly newsletter, and sometimes it's just promotional emails that we send out on behalf of customers for double opt-in emails. So it depends on what the strategy is and what we're looking to do. But that's the general idea.
Gotcha. Very data driven, very research intensive up front. You're not just blasting.
Yeah, we're not just spraying and praying or just blasting and having fun.
Yeah. Well, which doesn't work, but boy, you can tell people that over and over, and you'll still get someone saying, "I bought this list." No, it's not how it works, right? It's really not how it works.
LinkedIn has a lot of really good data,
Mm,
and
yeah,
you're able to kind of get data from LinkedIn. That's definitely something that you can get.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's actually Sales Navigator blows my doors from a bunch of reasons, though. The depth and breadth of what's there, the speed is just astonishing. You really can target in, narrow in with a lot of specificity. I mean, there are other databases, but that's the one that particularly impresses me.
Very powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. So if we got someone listening who says, "Ooh, I like the philosophy, I like the approach. Maybe they can help my business." What characterize a good client for you and your company?
If you go to ajaxunion.com and you watch our marketing funnel webinar, we have a webinar on the homepage that walks you through, it's a 20-minute video, walks you through the marketing funnel. It's very comprehensive. And you say, you know what, I really like to have a marketing funnel built for my business like this because I think it'll help my business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worth it for us to have a conversation. Usually the companies that we work with have a marketing director, or sometimes the owner is the marketing director. They wear that hat.
Mm-hmm.
But ideally, there has to be someone that's committed to working with us through the process because it's really a partnership between us and the customer.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, you don't want someone who says, "I'll just turn it over," because you're going to affect their business top to bottom.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
help them out.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. Where do you see your company going? We got a minute left. I want the future, man.
I want to continue to add value to our clients and make a difference. We're not going to explode and turn into $100 million business. For us, it's still going to be us, just adding value to a small amount of clients, making a difference for them one at a time, going deep. For me, it's about going deep. And I would rather market my own businesses. Like we're marketing our own company called Evergreen, where we train people on how to use LinkedIn. So we're going to be marketing, or I'm going to purchase some more companies, and we're going to be marketing our own companies. And that's what we're mainly going to be using Ajax Union for, is to market some clients and market our own businesses.
Interesting. Interesting. That makes a lot of sense actually. If you've got the power of a repeatable methodology on the hardest part, I think, of growing
Yeah.
a business, which is the marketing, why not turn it to your own purposes?
Yep. Very
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, terrific. Well, Joel, thank you for a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. I'm really glad that I was able to be here. I
Yeah.
appreciate you, and I look forward to staying in touch.
So my guest has been Joel Apfelbaum, Ajax Union, ajaxunion.com, right?
Yep.
Cool. We're out. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you.